What up, and welcome in, Whispernation, to the Tuesday Waiver Wire live show. I'll be joined in just a second by the one, the only, you know him as Big Travie. We like to call him Vegas Travie as well. We'll be talking about all those waiver wire ads for this week. We'll get you set, ready to go for the playoffs. Playoffs, that's right. We're talking playoffs as well. Those matchups for the playoffs, so stick tight. Hang with us as I enter in my guy, Big Travie. How we doing, Big Travie?
What up, Johnny? What up, Whisper Nation? Welcome in. It's week 15, so most of you, if not all of you, are in the playoffs now or in playoff mode now. That could mean you're either in or you're out, but if you're out, maybe you're in that poop bowl, as Sleeper likes to call it, the toilet bowl, and maybe you're vying to not get last. So either way, in or out, up or down, you are looking at the waiver wire and in week 15. And guys, I just have to put a caveat out there, Johnny, right now. Today has been COVID Tuesday because all we are hearing is all these teams just stacking up positive COVID cases. So,
hey,
our winter is not only trying to be affected by this Omicron variant and the Delta variant, but looks like our fantasy football playoffs might be affected in a big way as well.
Yep, not out of the woods yet, Big Travis. I thought you were going to text me this morning and say, hey, I was in close contact with some COVID. I can't make the show.
Yeah, I was hanging out with OBJ so last night.
Yeah,
we
I
partied.
believe it.
Yeah, no.
Hey,
no, I mean, to be fair, you'd be the one. It might be you because he was out in Arizona. They go to Phoenix and then all of a sudden they got it. No,
we have like the most cases of like anyone in the last.
I feel like
most
you in Florida have been that since day one. But either way, COVID aside, I just want to let everybody know this is a fluid situation. So we're probably not going to get all the COVID cases and all the things that we need to prepare ourselves for this week. So make sure not just tonight that you're setting waivers, but you're monitoring us. You're monitoring your Sleeper or your Yahoo or your ESPN apps, and you're monitoring those updates and those blurbs on these players because things are moving quickly and fastly, including the spread of this virus, unfortunately. So first of all, stay safe out there, Whisper Nation. And second of all, be on the lookout for the way things are changing here. But we will try to give you, even with all that information, I'm going to try and give you players that I think have a good shot to at least help you this week, maybe help you going forward, and have a little bit of upside here.
And then third of all, make sure you're hitting that subscribe button and that bell so you get notified when we go live. And we'll help you through these COVID cases, through this mess that is going to be the fantasy football playoffs. But Travis, we are opening this show. As always, we like to talk about running backs first on this show because we understand the thirst is real. It is dire needs. There's been so many injuries. There's been a lot of COVID cases, but fear not, because there are a couple of waiver wire guys, Big Travie, that you can use on your waiver wire in the running back position. We're going to dive into those right here. We got running backs we'll talk about first, and then we'll dive into wide receivers, then some quarterbacks and tight ends, and then defenses as well. We'll be talking about those. Make sure that if you have any questions, hang around to the end of the show. We'll get to them. And then if you want to super chat us, hey, we'll drop everything. We'll answer your question right then and there. You won't. So just hit us with that super chat. So, Big Travie, finally, is it time? After 4 years, we've been asking, and all of a sudden, Rashaad Penny gets some opportunity. We knew he was going to get some opportunity down the stretch here with, Alex Collins banged up, them signing AP, Carson on IR. But now Rashaad Penny having the best career game on Sunday. So pick him up. Why don't we?
Yeah, Penny having his career game, it's easy to have a career game when you've only played in like 5 of them in 4 years. Right. But that doesn't negate the fact that, look back at week 13, he got 11 touches and we're saying, okay, he's there. He escaped without injury. So that's good. He followed it up with 17 touches last week, 137 all purpose yards and 2 touchdowns. They're going to get a Rams defense, are the Seahawks this week. It's given up 22.5 points per game over the last month to enemy running backs, and that includes James Conner last night, who went over 125 all-purpose yards with 2 touchdowns against them in a game where maybe not a lot was going right for the Cardinals, but Conner was, which means this running back, we used to be, this used to be the vaunted Rams defense that you couldn't attack. Well, it looks like the running game is something that you can get going on them. I think he is the best available player, Rashaad Penny, with the most upside on the waiver of all the waiver wire guys we're going to talk about this week, because Pete Carroll coming out saying he deserves a shot to be the lead back. Look, Alex Collins has been dismal. AP is back to the practice squad. There's nothing here for them but to go and see if they need to offer anything to Penny at the end of this year and say, hey, look, is this a guy we can invest in going forward at all? Or is this a guy who can't stay healthy to save his life? Let's see what happens with Penny. But for fantasy football purposes, especially in redraft, we don't care. Roll them out there. Right. It's like a used car. Drive it till it dies,
And it's going to be like that over the next few weeks, Travis. It's going to be guys in your lineup that you would have never thought were going to help you win a championship. It's going to be ugly names, but it's going to be guys that you can plug and play matchups that will help you get that championship. That's what it comes down to over the next few weeks. We can throw out several names of players where we picked up and we never would have, Hightower, Jonathan, or
Tim Hightower.
Tim Hightower is a perfect example. A couple of years ago, won a lot of people leagues. So I love the Penny. I love seeing it. I'm a fan of Penny. I don't know if I'm fully bought in as of right now, Big Travie, but it was great to see him really explode against, in a favorable matchup. But like you said, good matchup this weekend. All right, so jumping into these once more, we're going to go into the second running back here, Craig Reynolds from the Detroit Lions, and he's only rostered on 2%. I won't lie, Big Travie. I almost added him yesterday morning because there are some beat reporters that are coming out and compared this guy to Elijah Mitchell, or could be, a poor man's Elijah Mitchell. We don't necessarily
Elijah Mitchell.
Yeah, the watered down. We don't necessarily know as of right now if DeAndre Swift will be back. They're hopeful he'll be back this week. But Big Travie, you want to break down a little bit? Let us know what you know about Craig Reynolds and why you're advising people to pick him up right now.
Yeah, the big thing for Craig Reynolds is just the, absence of other playmakers in this offense. And that's exactly what we've seen. Out of nowhere, got 13 touches, and without Swift and Jamal Williams, led the Lions in rushing against the Broncos, 11 for 83. That's 7.5 yards per carry. He was elevated just a day before, but given the Lions' current COVID and injury onslaught, I think you could do a lot worse. The Lions' projected lead back Swift and Williams maybe continue to miss time here. Williams with the COVID, Swift with his shoulder injury there. Now, again, Dan Campbell said they were hopeful they'll get both Swift and our guy T.J. Hawkinson back, but we don't know that for sure. So Craig Reynolds is a nice stash to kind of keep on your, on the lookout as Friday approaches and we get those injury reports there. But Johnny, our boy Eagle Fang, who said he made the playoffs, just hit us with that super chat.
Oh, let's go. You won't.
Oop.
All right.
He says, I will. He says, OBJ likely out. Would you slide in Bateman, Van Jefferson, or Cole Beasley? Before we answer this, I want to give him that whisper woo.
Woo! 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 Love it.
So for me, would you slide in Bateman, Van Jefferson, Cole Beasley, or Jacoby Myers? You're starting one guy out of here. It's definitely Van Jefferson.
Yeah.
It's definitely Van Jefferson if you're sliding in one. Bateman would be the second option for me there. And I'll get into Bateman. He's my top waiver ad this week, as we'll talk about him when we talk about wide receivers next. So, but yeah, I think Van Jefferson's a no doubt slam dunk because even with OBJ in there, he's consistently seen the deep shots. There may be nobody better, maybe Josh Allen, maybe Aaron Rodgers, but there may be nobody better throwing the deep ball in the NFL on just pure arm talent and ability to throw the deep ball than Matt Stafford. So that's who we like to see that matched up with a Van Jefferson, who's just been on fire really lately in this offense.
The thing that's really cool about Van Jefferson is he's getting those deeper targets as well. Like that was kind of the downside to having Bobby Trees, right? Robert Woods he was so used around the line of scrimmage, and sure, he would, because he was talented, he could take a cross for 30 yards or whatnot. But with Van Jefferson, they will actually run him on deeper routes. And so you have that chance on one play just to literally make your day. Right. So the upside is completely there. I think the floor is Van also there.
Become like a combination of,
Jesus and Fergie. Yep.
No, well, more like an OBJ and Cooper Kupp in the offense, right? Where he's like, he's going to be able to get you both. Like, he won't be as, big play dependent as OBJ, because he's going to be used on some of the more, intermediate stuff as well. But I love what Van's put on tape. I love his progression. He's got the pedigree. Obviously, we talked, ESPN was talking about his dad, obviously coaching for the Cardinals and all that stuff. He was a great wide receiver himself. But yeah, Van Jefferson, if he wasn't owned so much, he'd be a huge waiver wire add this week. So if you're in one of those leagues where, he's out there, go pick up Van Jefferson, especially with this news about OBJ and COVID. We're not out of the woods with Van either. Because he could be a close contact, obviously the wide receiver room. So we'll see what happens there. But, I don't like the way that Sleeper has been updating us and throwing Cooper Kupp's face up there. We can't be having that. We can't be. Don't be saying Cooper Kupp's got it. As of right now, we don't have that. So that's where we're at.
Yeah, don't need Cooper Kupp in it. Okay, so we are going to jump back into number 3 here on this list for running backs. That is Justin Jackson of the LA Chargers, only roster on 5%. Big Travie, we saw Austin Ekeler. This is really important. Austin Ekeler dealing with some kind of ankle issue. We saw him getting heavily taped up on the sidelines of yesterday's game. And Justin Jackson looks to be that guy that could be replacing if Ekeler does miss some time. This is really unfortunate because they have a wonderful schedule down these fantasy football playoffs. So I really believe that Ekeler was going to lead a lot of people to the championships. But you want to talk a little bit about Justin Jackson?
I still think that's well within the range of outcomes for our Ekeler owners. I don't want to preach all doom and gloom here, but this particular ad with Justin Jackson, look, it's not for the faint of heart, but hear me out here, because Matthew Berry's come out and said basically he's out on the running backs if Ekeler misses time. He doesn't want any part of them. Okay, I get that. But we need to talk about it a little bit, because I do think that Justin Jackson is the path to some relevance. If you're an Ekeler owner, you're going to miss out on some of these top wide receiver or running back options on the waiver, and then all of a sudden Justin Jackson is the projected starter. Look, he's the seasoned veteran. I think he's trusted the most of all the backup running backs out there. That doesn't guarantee he's going to get Ekeler usage. I don't think he will, but he could be in a good spot. And I think if the Chargers are smart, they want to play. Look, the Chiefs are red hot. Even on defense right now, they're playing a whole lot better. So what I would look at is like saying, I want to temper my expectations, bring them way down compared to Ekeler's usage. But if they're smart, they want to play keep away from the Chiefs. So if Ekeler is out, I think there is no guarantee that Justin Jackson will be the guy. But Staley has also said that Ekeler is not expected to miss time. And if we look at Ekeler, we've talked about him being a guy who loves fantasy football, talks about playing it, shares the fact that he plays it. I think he could really make a push to try and get his fantasy GMs out there and try and make a showing. Now, there's re-injury risk, of course, with that, but our guy Eckler's as tough as they come, undrafted guy. He's going to want to prove it. Should things change quickly, though, Justin Jackson is a great guy to add and keep on your bench because they're on Thursday night, right? So even if Ekeler gets the start, you can drop Justin Jackson quickly and go pick up somebody else, especially with all the COVID stuff changing. Things could be out there. Justin Jackson quickly, Johnny, he saw 10 touches last week with Ekeler, taking some of that extra time, getting taped out, and in that blowout versus the Giants. You got to think that they obviously didn't put Ekeler back in because they were playing the Giants. They had this game in hand. Chiefs are top 10 in points allowed to the running backs over the last month. So even though they're red hot, the running back remains the way to target against the Chiefs here. And I think that's, that's some hopeful stuff here. Look, he's the bottom of the barrel for the running back out there on the waiver wire, but I think he's a good add over guys that, you're seeing Royce Freeman get consideration on your waivers and some of these honorable mentions, Dearness Johnson, if you're trying to play the Kareem Hunt apps. I think Justin Jackson, should Ekeler miss, is a much better play than some of those other guys.
Speaking of Thursday night, Big Travie, want to thank the sponsors of today's show and let you guys know that we will be going live on Thursday night for the Thursday Night Thirst. Right. And not only that, but Big Travie, we will be playing on FanDuel, which is today's sponsor of today's show.
That's right.
If you want to join us on FanDuel to play alongside of us on Thursday night, you could do so by just going over to FanDuel. The link is in the description below. Let them know that Fantasy Whisperers sent you. Just use the referral code, the Fantasy Whisperers. They'll match up to, or they'll match 20%, Big Travie, all the way up to $500. So use that. Let them know once again that the Fantasy Whisperers sent you, and then they'll give you a deposit match.
Yeah, look, we talked about it at the top of the show. If you're not in it and you definitely want to keep that week one feeling going all year long, like this is your opportunity to do that. You are out of the playoffs. That doesn't mean you can't still play fantasy. That doesn't mean you can't still win some cash and try to predict the game. And, we want to fortune tell here in fantasy football and try and figure out if we can figure it out. So that's what we do here with FanDuel. We set our lineups and come on and watch the games with us and enjoy it. And I think
a lot of people asking, hey, I might have been out or whatnot from my fantasy league. What do I do now? Do I see you guys next summer? So, no, you stick around. We're playing DFS.
Yeah, we'll be here
watching some games. We'll be here all year.
And
we're not stopping.
Never.
Yeah.
Never stop. Don't sleep.
Never
eat.
Won't stop. Speaking of can't stop, won't stop. We can't stop and won't stop not believing in our boy, Rashaad Bateman. Coming in here as the wide receiver. We'll talk about the wide receiver ads here. Rashaad Bateman on 21%, or actually I have to double check that. Is that right? 21%? It might be a little bit higher. 53%, excuse me. So graphic is wrong there. They are a little bit over 50%. We normally don't go and dive into 50% or over roster players, but it is important to note about Rashaad Bateman, who kind of jumped back on the scene, showed us exactly the upside that he has from a week-to-week standpoint. What do you like about Bateman? Are you trusting him in the fantasy football playoffs as a starter?
Yeah, I think I am. And so, if we look at Bateman, he's just the far more exciting prospect of all the waiver wire wide receiver pool that we have here in week 15. He's got 8 targets in 3 of his last 6 games, including Sunday, where he caught 7 of those for 103 yards. What was really encouraging was that even with Huntley in the lineup for the Ravens, Bateman was still a viable option, racked up over 14 yards per reception with Huntley in there for most of the game. For me, it doesn't matter if Lamar or Huntley plays. I think Bateman is going to really be a good option this week. For most of the season, Johnny, we talked about how we were kind of dreading the Ravens matchup in the playoffs, right? We're talking about Packers, Bengals, Rams. This was a tough secondary to look at. It's not really the case over the last 4 weeks. If we look at the Packers, they rank 2nd. We look at the Rams, they rank 7th, and the Bengals rank 12th in points allowed to the wide receiver over the last month. So really, when you look at the Packers, they've allowed 51 points per game to the wide receiver over those last 4 weeks. So again, this isn't really a bad matchup anymore for our Ravens passing attack. It's actually a good setup. So if Lamar can come back, we're really liking our Lamar shares. We're liking our Mark Andrews and our Marquise Brown, but I don't think that stops at Rashaad Bateman. I think he is going to be a flex play in this particular matchup, regardless of quarterback. And I think he's going to be somebody that could have a really strong end of season, given the matchups that we just discussed. And he's going to be a guy that's going to be elevating on draft boards next year because of a nice end of the season push here. And I think that could happen here.
All right, jumping in to number 2 on your wide receiver list here. You got Devontae Parker from Miami coming back, finally getting healthy. Do you like Devontae Parker? What does this also do? What does this mean for, Jalen Waddle moving forward?
I think Waddle's an auto start. I'd be interested to see what this kind of effect has had on Gesicki. I don't know if I'm totally scared off Gesicki just because of the nature of the tight end position. But let's talk about Parker here. He returned to the lineup after a 4-week absence on the IR with the shoulder. That was in week 13 prior to this last week bye for the Dolphins. But nothing to write home about, right, for our guy Parker. Just 62 yards, 5 of 5, no score. But most importantly, he escaped healthy. He got another week of rest this last week for his fragile body. And now the Fins are going to play the Jets this week. And although New York has been a run funnel team, causing teams not to pass on them because they haven't need to because their running backs just go crazy. Miami does not have a strong running back core right now. They've got COVID and health issues right now in their backfield. And I expect them to lean on their passing attack in this game. We've seen them use Waddle and Gesicki and, even Parker to an extent as these extension of the run game where they do the short passes and stuff. I think that could really happen. And in PPR, I think he's a sneaky / desperate flex in this matchup. And I think that's where we're at with Parker at this point. He's definitely a guy, and he's owned in 59%. He's not definitely a guy that like some of the other guys we're going to talk about next, because he's owned a little bit higher. People are still, trying to ride the high of name value here with him. But I do think there's a spot for him to start in this one for you, especially with all this COVID news happening. If you had a Landry, if you had an OBJ, and you're looking for some sort of replacement there.
All right, Amon-Ra St. Brown. We've talked about him a few times. We said, do you trust him? You won't. But he's developing into a nice, steady little wide receiver there in Detroit, as weird as that sounds. Is he going to be someone that you can put on your roster, potentially plug and play? Has some decent matchups coming up here down the fantasy football playoffs. Is Amon-Ra St. Brown someone, maybe especially in PPR, you're more so looking at him, or do you think, hey, this might be just a 1 week play here?
It's a caveat here, and we'll get into it. St. Brown is coming on lately, as Johnny had said here, making us remember that preseason hype that we had for him, coming in as the rookie wide receiver. And we look at the Lions. They're an injury-plagued team right now. They got health concerns all over the place, be it virus or injury. St. Brown, though, Johnny, not just coming on, like red hot right now. 24 targets, 18 catches, and 159 receiving yards and a touchdown in just the last 2 games, okay? So that's 12 targets in each game. That's amazing here. We love that kind of usage. There is a lot to like for the rookie wide receiver. He's been the focal point of the Lions' passing attack over the last 2 weeks, and he's playing the Cardinals. Now, look, Johnny has told you all year that the Cardinals secondary is good, and it did start out good. They were very good against the pass to start this year. But over the last month, and that's what I like to look at here, because we're getting new data in, right? And over the last month, 6th most points per game to the wide receiver has Arizona given up. So I think there's room here for our guy, Amon-Ra St. Brown here. And we saw Cooper Kupp have his day in and out of the slot with the Cardinals last night. Obviously, totally different players. But remember, Amon-Ra St. Brown got that comp to Cooper Kupp from Jared Goff earlier in the year. So maybe they're not that different. No, I'm just kidding. Poor man's Cooper Kupp. I want to caveat St. Brown, though, because in week 13, the Lions were without DeAndre Swift, and in week 14, they were out without Swift and Hawkinson. If we get both of those guys back, I don't know if I'm really willing to put St. Brown in my lineup as much, but if they're out again, I really like St. Brown as a flex this week. And I'd honestly have more confidence if both of those guys are out than a Devontae Parker this week.
I like it. Okay, so jump into last wide receiver here. Jakeem Grant for Chicago has had back-to-back games where he scored. He's probably one of their more exciting players that they try to get the ball to. It looks like they're trying to scheme him now more. He's kind of taken that Tariq Cohen opportunity there. Yeah. So Jakeem Grant, you want to talk about him? What's your confidence in putting him in your lineup? He's got that high upside. Obviously, if you get kick return yards, it's a little bit more of a positive there for Jakeem Grant. But are you really excited about Jakeem Grant as his potential for upside winning weeks?
I wouldn't say really excited. That feels strong. I think when you have dual punt yardage and touchdown upside paired with an offense scheming up plays for you, you're going to make the waiver show. When you score receiving touchdowns in back-to-back games, you're going to make the waiver show. So that's where he's at. He's kind of the bottom of the barrel for the wide receivers we're going to talk about today. He's entered the chat, though. He has over 100 total receiving yards and over 130 total punt return yards and 3 total touchdowns in his last 2 games. So the 2 receiving and the punt return. Grant is going to get a date with the Vikings, who we talked about, the Packers, giving up over 50 points per game to the position and being the number 2. The only team giving up more points to wide receivers over the last month, the Vikings. And so on Monday night, this could be a decent, desperate flex, that Monday night miracle. You need it. You need the upside. You're projected to get smoked by your opponent, and you have to scrounge to get something. You limped in as the 8th seed. You're playing the juggernaut 1 seed. Jakeem Grant could be that Hail Mary play that you need in your flex to kind of get you over the hump here. So I'm not extremely confident in him, but you can roll the dice with Jakeem Grant, I think, and get a lot worse options out there on the waiver.
All right, Big Trevi, not the last, but this next section that we'll break down, talk about right now, probably going to be pretty relevant for a lot of players. We're going to talk about the quarterbacks that are bigger pickups or waiver wire adds for this week, especially with now we just got information a couple hours ago that Lamar, they're day-to-day with him. They're going to wait and see. So it's not for sure whether or not he'll be in this Sunday. So why don't we break down some of these quarterbacks that you might need to stream or use to get by this week? So we're going to start off here with number one on this list. He is over 50% rostered, but we need to bring him up and talk about him again because Taysom Hill could be seriously a quarterback that you pick up on waivers, and you can take him all the way to the championship because he has that. Yes.
Yeah, I'm with you. I was just agreeing.
I thought you were like I thought you were getting real excited,
I am. And the bottom line, Johnny, is this: I don't care if you need him or not. Put him on your bench, because if you give this guy to your opponent or a future opponent potentially in the playoffs and you lose to Taysom Hill, I don't want you coming back to our DMs complaining that Taysom Hill beat you in the playoffs, because you have an opportunity right now to block this guy from the rest of your league. This is what we wanted the whole time, guys. Okay, so say it with me. Taysom Hill is a cheat code. I don't really have much more.
Taysom Hill's a cheat code.
Yeah, say it with me. Say it again. These are his past 6 weekly finishes. I don't care how many picks he throws. I don't care how god-awful he looks. I don't care that he has a mallet for a hand because all of his fingers are getting broken off. In 6 weekly finishes over the past 2 years, Johnny, in the 6 games that he has been named the starter, QB3, QB4, QB9, QB7, QB11, and QB3. Absolutely dominant and an absolute cheat code for you to win your fantasy matchup each and every week. You're starting basically a running back or a hybrid, fast football player at your quarterback position. And that is what we want, because obviously, I don't have to tell this to you, but rushing yards equal more than passing yards as a quarterback. And so he is essentially your running back at the QB position. And what's a better fill-in if we have to miss Lamar Jackson than basically the white Lamar Jackson in Taysom Hill? So go out there and get yourself Taysom Hill if you can. If he's available at all, get him if you have the bench spot to block from your league mates, because this is a huge one that could end up, it's going to affect you one way or another. Either you can get him in your lineup or you are going to play against him. And I know the Tampa Bay matchup, their defenses look tough over the last couple games. But again, it's the rushing floor for Taysom, where he's never finished outside the top 12 as a starter in fantasy football. This is the same reason why we loved Jalen Hurts last year. And then coming into this year, Jalen Hurts has been so consistent as a QB1 for you. I think Taysom Hill is a absolute must-add.
Let me asking for a friend here. Would you play Taysom Hill or Jalen Hurts this week?
I'd play Jalen Hurts. Yeah,
against Jalen Hurts against Washington. Okay, yeah. That's what I have.
I mean, Jalen Hurts is I'm in a tough situation. I have Lamar Jackson. I'm looking at Taysom Hill and Tua and some of these other guys we'll talk about. And I think that there might be a situation where even if Lamar gets the nod, I think I would maybe consider Taysom Hill, only because that ankle, I don't know what it's going to do for Lamar as a runner, or re-injury. And so that's not something I want to mess with. But I don't want to get too cute. The bottom line is Taysom Hill does not belong on your waiver. And if 56% of leagues still have him out there, or I'd say that's 44% of leagues still have him out there on their waivers, that's an absolute crime, and he needs to be picked up.
All right. Jumping into the second quarterback here, available on a little bit more of leagues, Tua Tagovailoa, Miami's quarterback. He has been, over the last few weeks, really kind of putting it together. It's really interesting because a lot of people were writing him off, talking about he was, rumored to be traded before the deadline. Still could happen, obviously, this offseason. Would love to see him go to Washington, but that's a different story and a different show. But you got Tua balling out. Obviously, you just talked about, the running game, super suspect right now because they've sus, bro. Yeah, because they got COVID. So it could really be put on the shoulders of Tua in this game and this week. And then he's got a very solid playoff schedule moving forward as well. So you want to talk about Tua, what and he's number 2 on this list, obviously, but most likely going to be number 1, because he'll likely isn't a bench.
Yeah, he's going to be more readily available than Taysom, but he's just not as sexy. You know, that's the bottom line. 17 or more points in 4 of his last 7. So he has had some inconsistency creep in there. So he does have a floor that's not very good. So that's there, but they've got a date with the Jets, Johnny. And as much as we've talked about them being a run funnel, we talked about maybe the wide receivers aren't as great of a play against the Jets as the running backs. It's all kind of relative because the Jets have still been top 10 in points allowed to the quarterback position in the last month. So maybe they get there through Gesicki, they get there through Mac Hollins, some other ways that they're going to get there. Tua maybe gets to run a little bit. We haven't seen that in a minute, but maybe he gets some mobility in there too. I think all of those are a possibility. I think Tua is one of the best streaming options, if you can call it that, because quickly the quarterback position is becoming the tight end position for us in streamability here in the playoffs. And so what we want to look at is usage, matchup, and just floor ability, weapons. Look, this passing offense for the Dolphins, it's not a joke. They have weapons there. And so that's what I want out of my streamable quarterbacks is an offense that can get there or get home, so to speak. And I think against the Jets, they're definitely going to have their way with them, especially with that defense playing so hot, giving the ball back to the offense, in perpetuity there. So that's what we like there.
All right. Third quarterback on this waiver wire ads for this week. And actually, I do really like his schedule moving forward as well. Jimmy Garoppolo for San Francisco. He's rostered on just 35% of sleeper leagues. Jimmy G has been quietly putting together some pretty solid play at the quarterback position. It's not going to give you that high upside. You know, I doubt he's going to come out and throw 5 touchdowns in a game. But again, he's going to be that steady Eddie guy. That budget guy that I believe, Travis,
this is
steal the words out of your mouth here, but dive into Jimmy.
I think Tua is the better upside play than Jimmy G, but I think Jimmy G's floor is better. I mean, he's the floor play of our waiver wire quarterbacks. He's got 15 or more points in 6 of the last 8 games. So at least that 15-point floor. We got Debo back. He's presumably going to stay healthy. Kittle, Debo, Ayuk healthy. We're probably going to get Elijah Mitchell back. So the offense could be full go against the Falcon teams who allowing 20.6 points per game to the QB. Only Washington football team have allowed more points per game to the quarterback this year than the Falcons. Even in a game where Cam got benched twice, the Falcons gave up 15 points to Cam Newton last week in some scoring formats. So that's what we're talking about. Like the Falcons, there's a floor here for Jimmy G. And if you really just say, hey, look, I have strong running backs, I got strong wide receivers, my tight end's set, I got a really good defensive matchup. The only missing piece for me is quarterback. I think you roll Jimmy G out there because I think the floor is there for him. 12 to 17 points are probably guaranteed what he's going to get. And then you just got to hope that your studs can carry you the rest of the way there. If you have a Lamar Jackson out, I think Jimmy G is a fantastic streamable option this week.
Love it. Okay, talking tight ends now. We're going to move on to the tight end position.
Yeah.
Hunter Henry. This one's
before we get into each individual guy, Johnny, so I didn't mean to cut you off here. I just wanted to give a caveat for tight end in general here.
Yes.
Don't at me and get all upset that your tight end botched. Like that's what they do. Okay. The theme is that tight ends suck. Okay. And no offense, they're actually one of the most talented positions in real football. In fantasy football, dependability has not been their strong suit. So the theme here is don't overthink the tight end. We want good matchups and some usage that we can point to. And so, yes, Johnny, I want to get into Hunter Henry here, but I just wanted to caveat that because these are guys that we're not very excited to go and put in our lineup, but we got to point to some of the things that make them viable this week.
Yeah, I like what you're saying there because and to side note that, right, we'll talk. And Ricky Seals was one of my calls last week, and he didn't play well at all. But again, Kelsey was a disappearing act in what should have been the best matchup for him. He should have absolutely smashed against the Raiders, but was held to 26 receiving yards, something like that.
And the Raiders 27. Are still a great matchup over the last one. Like they still their points per game. Like so that I mean it's wild how this works. But you look at it when you look at points per game. I mean, we could get into the nuances here, But if we look at, we talked about the receivers over the last month, the top teams are giving up 50 points per game to receivers in PPR. That number is more closer to like 15 or 12 for the teams that are giving up points to the tight end over the last month, that are the top teams. So the drop off is huge. We know that. So just keep that in mind. It's why we still said roll Hawkinson out there, because he was getting great volume throughout the year. It didn't matter that he was giving you down games, because all of them are giving you down games. And even Kelsey, who's only had 2 of those, he's still a threat to give you that.
I agree. So first coming in here, we'll get into Hunter Henry. Obviously, we talked about this at the top of the show. We like to do under 50% roster, but because this list is very, very minimal and Hunter Henry barely makes it over that threshold, we decided to throw him up there. Do you want to give just a quick 2 cents on Hunter Henry before we?
Yeah, I think that 58% could be a lot lower in other leagues other than Sleeper. And so that's why I put him on here as a top, because they just got off their bye, did the Patriots. And before that, I think he was held to 0 points against the Bills. So there's stuff here to suggest that maybe people gave up on Henry prior. They needed a win, so they dropped some stuff here. 7 touchdowns as a red zone threat for the Patriots this year. And he's playing the Colts, who have allowed the 6th most points per game to the tight end over the last month. Don't overthink it. I think Hunter Henry, of the guys we're going to talk about, is your more surefire play of these guys, because I think he's shown us that he can score, and the Pats have shown us that they'll go to him, and the Colts have shown us that they can't really stop the tight end.
All right, jumping into number 2 on this list is Ricky Seals-Jones. Again, I was really big on him this past weekend. Boy, did your boy get it wrong heavily on the Sunday morning lineup show.
If I was with you there on this last one, I'd have been right with you, because I picked up RSJ in multiple leagues and put him in there as a streamable option. And I think that's the risk here. That's why he's below Hunter Henry, is because their rookie Bates actually played more snaps, played about 71% of the snaps. And we knew this was a possibility but I think that Ricky Seal, this game got weird for the football team. I mean, you had Kyle Allen in it multiple times. Heineke got hurt. So there's things there. So, and it was a blowout, then it wasn't. So there was weird game script for this game that I think could have played a part in the snap percentage. Again, I don't know if it matters if the other guy's going to be playing a little bit, the rookie Bates there, because no team has allowed more points per game to the tight end this year than the Philadelphia Eagles. And with no Logan Thomas, RSJ, we saw him before get close to those Logan Thomas percentage. They might be easing RSJ back because they are short of weapons, and they wanted to make sure that they kind of ease him back in and not re-injure him, because they don't have Logan Thomas to lean on. So I think that could have played in it. Since he escaped with hopefully no setbacks so far that I can see, I think that he's a good play again this week in a very top tier, the best matchup for tight ends in this one here.
Like that. Usually.
I know it's
usually I like that, but then it's like,
I think it's a good play this week.
All right. Last tight end here, Mercedes Lewis, dial it back. I'm not even joking you. I really thought about playing Mercedes Lewis in DFS this past week.
Would have been a good play in PPR.
I know it would have been it would have been a good play. But Mercedes Lewis somewhat, so I also caveat this with, we like to go with Big Travie on the screen based stuff, because he really knows a lot. I mean, he that's his team. So he knows a lot about how this team works. You've got Mercedes Lewis there. You've also got the other tight end that has been
Josiah Deguara.
Yeah. So he's been somewhat of a steady guy, seeing about 3 targets a game. But Mercedes Lewis is a guy we know. Listen, Aaron Rodgers loves when he can trust you. He loves veterans, realist. He talks up veterans, wants to get them in the lineup. And then Mercedes Lewis, big-bodied guy who has been a red zone threat throughout his career. So you want to talk a little bit about more about Mercedes Lewis, what you can kind of expect. And then I just want you to touch on that the other tight end there, because he's a guy that is also kind of raising the eyebrows to, hey, do we need to look at this guy as well?
Yeah, so Josiah Deguara, if we look at him, he has not really played as many snaps as we'd like. Now, he did get up to a career high in snaps with 57% last week, but again, only 3 targets, 3 catches for 44 yards. He could have a little bit of trust with Rodgers. Remember, Rodgers had an absolute dime he threw against the Vikings a few weeks back where Deguara caught it for a touchdown, but I don't think that's enough for us to go and trust DeGuara, I think is that how you pronounce it, or be scared off Mercedes Lewis. Look, Johnny talked about the trust level for Aaron Rodgers. He loves to hype up his guys, and he has been hyping up Mercedes Lewis since he came to the Packers. Lewis has been doubly nicknamed the big dog from Aaron Rodgers, and his usage last week was that of a big dog. He ate 4 of 4 for a tight end, is really great, and then 51 yards for a tight end against a Bears defense that was pretty good against the tight end up until that point. Now, obviously, he didn't score, but this week, much better matchup here. They're playing the Ravens. They've surrendered the third most points or third most yards to tight ends and the fourth most touchdowns to the position. So for me, I think that Mercedes Lewis is actually a sneaky, desperate play at the tight end position. And honestly, as we go through this show, I'm tempted to say that I'd take him over RSJ just because of the usage, but I think I'm going to still lean with RSJ in that matchup because we've seen it on a bigger scale earlier in the year for RSJ, a bigger sample size. But I do think Lewis is going to be a nice play for people this week.
I do still like the fact that again, the game script was a little bit weird, but RSJ still coming down with 8 targets in that game. So that's what I do like, that aspect of it. And he could have, had a little bit better of a day too. He dropped a ball in the end zone that was a 2-point conversion, I believe. But like you said, and I gave this advice because I got DM'd by a friend who was asking about needing a tight end last week, and threw out a couple of names, and I was just like, hey, you need to decide on which one you think has the best chance of scoring a touchdown, because that's basically all these guys are. It's like if you think he's going to score a touchdown, you could throw him in there, then you're going to have the upside. If you don't think he's going to score a touchdown, then it's probably going to be a bottom day, and that's how it is with all tight ends that we've seen in every position. So, or no matter who you are. Okay, getting into the last section here, and then we'll get into any listener questions that we have. So I appreciate you all for sticking around, tuning in. Make sure if you haven't yet, hit that like for us. Give us a blue thumbs up. It greatly helps this video. And we're trying to get to 50. We're trying to get to 50. You won't. All right, Big Travie. Last section here is the defenses, and then this is why I like about defenses, because just real quick here, we had Ronald just stopping in saying that he's got a bye this week, so he's just looking for 16 and 17. Well, this is where you tuned into the right part of the show, Ronald, because these are defenses that we can talk about that have great schedules rest of season. So you're going to want to pick these guys up because they could really help out your championship run here. 3 defenses we got on here: Dallas Cowboys, San Francisco 49ers, and the Philadelphia Eagles. Just to quickly summarize where we're going with this. But the first one we want to talk about, again, slightly over 50%, but if they're available, you need to go out and really pick them up. These aren't, the Dallas Cowboys, ever since they made a couple of moves and switched over the rookie, I'll tell you what, that guy looks absolutely phenomenal. He looks like he's going to be an absolute beast for years to come. I'm excited to see what he does, but he has been producing a lot of fumbles, a lot of sacks for the Dallas Cowboys, and then their schedule down the road here. We're NFC East. So
I mean, their schedule's great. They have been putting up massive points. They're the boys from Big D. They're going to get the Giants this week. They're getting healthier on defense. Micah Parsons, as Johnny said, is playing out of his absolute mind. Ryan Clark had a tweet that said that he's not just the best rookie, he's the defensive player of the year right now, in Ryan Clark's opinion, and he could be the best at an inside or outside rusher, but Dallas gets to play him as both. So they really hit on the Micah Parsons deal for real. I wasn't so sure after Hard Knocks and after some of the off the field stuff they talked about being a concern, but he's really dialed in, and he's been coached up pretty well in that defense, and that is affecting the Cowboys defense. 41 points in most formats over the last 2 weeks, Johnny. They're the number 2 defense on the season now after these 2 massive games, and I think that 50. That's why I had to mention them here. 56% owned still. That means 44% of those leagues out there in Sleeper, nobody has the Cowboys on. So this is going to be one of those hot defensive ads you need to go pick up immediately. And even if you have a defense you like more, again, blocking other people in your league from dominant defenses is a good strategy.
And that's a great point to bring up, Travis, as we'll jump into another one of these or San Francisco in just a second. But I did want to bring up that exact point. We are in the playoffs now. You have made it. Congratulations. Clap, give yourself a tap on the back. But we got 3 weeks left to get victories. Part of those victories and getting those are playing the right guys. Absolutely. Right. And we'll help you do that. We'll help you figure out which guys to play in your lineup. The other part is blocking your opponents from certain players, certain moves, locking them up. And so, and you talk about position. That's why I really like, especially now, instead of going for some of these waiver wire guys that we talk about that, hey, I probably won't end up playing them, that, it'd just be a stash on your bench or whatnot. I would rather go and pick up one of these defensive is available. Even like you said, if you have a defense that you're already good, I'm going to start. It still allows your opponent, whoever that might be, to have fewer defenses available and to play them against you. Because I'll tell you right now, nothing's going to be worse than if you don't go and pick up Dallas. And
I like using. Sorry, I didn't. I'm sorry.
You're right. You're just really excited about it.
Yeah, I like using those extra bench spots, Johnny, instead of making more headaches for my other skill positions where I'm trying to figure out who to start. Like, oh my God, should I start one of these low-level wide receivers over a guy that I'm probably going to start over him? No, like go pick up a defense, go pick up a quarterback, go pick up somebody that's going to take away from your opponent directly. And you can start to cycle those for each matchup that you play. So if you move through the playoffs to the next week, then you can do that again for somebody in the week. And so, just a quick story in our league of record a few years back, not to put our guy Tucker on blast, but Tucker had Josh Allen going into the playoffs playing against New England. And I wanted to do 2 things, either psych him out to get away from his stud and Josh Allen or make him play bottom of the barrel wide, quarterback. It worked out beautifully. I blocked all the quarterbacks. He starts Mitch Trubisky over Josh Allen. That you could say have cost him the championship, but that's the kind of games you get to play when you have the bench spaces to do it and you have locked in players for positions here.
And that's the other side of this playoff. If you're new to playoffs or if you're getting into it and still are new to playoffs, right? You don't know all the little tips and tricks. The mental side of these matchups are huge. It's doing these little things, maybe tricking them out by putting in someone in your lineup that you're not actually going to play. It's adjusting your lineup in ways to get in your opponent's head. It's making some moves that make them kind of question what you're doing and what they should maybe do this weekend. And so I love it. It's half of this game is mental. Half of it is the moves that you make in your team that you play. And then, you get some luck in there and then you have to start the right guys. But we'll help you with some of that. It's on you for the other half because we don't know your league mates necessarily. All right, Big Travie, talking about, we're going to wrap this up here. So San Francisco 49ers here, talk about their defense. We've brought them up several times when we talk about their running backs, their wide receivers, and Jimmy G today. They have an absolute wonderful playoff schedule, one of the best in the league.
Yeah, it's why we loved our guy what's his name, Trey Lance, so much because of the schedule. But now it's like we got to shift our priors and look at what else they could give us as presents here as Christmas approaches. What can the Niners give us? Well, they're playing Atlanta at home this week. They're over 8.5-point favorites. We've been telling you for a couple of weeks to go snag the 49ers. We've been telling you about to snag the Eagles as well because they're rostered in even fewer percent of leagues. But Philly's been a target for the playoffs because they get 2 matchups against the Washington football team, and then they get the Giants sandwich in between next week as well. They check all 3 of our requirements for top streaming defense, right? They're at home. They are favored by 4.5 points, and the over-under in this game is sub 45 at 44.5 points.
What?
You heard me. Yeah. Go get the Eagles, start them. You go get the Niners, you start them. I think both of those is the way to go here.
I absolutely love it. All right, there you have it. Philadelphia Eagles, you mentioned. The reason they're probably more, a lot of people might be saying, why are they so low is coming off of a bye. People had to drop them to get last week as a win. When you see teams get desperate or they need things, they'll drop other players. And again, that's a strategy that we like to implement. Like Travis said, why bog yourself down with some questionable sit starts or second guessing guys? Just leave them on the waiver and go and pick up defenses or guys to make your opponent back them kind of into a corner, and then, make them make bad decisions, and then you capitalize off those bad decisions. That's as much about winning this game as, sometimes you got to get nitty gritty, man. It's the playoffs, man. You got to get a little crazy. But if you want to get a little crazy with your boys, because we go live almost daily, make sure you're hitting that subscribe button, making sure you hit that bell so you get notified whenever we go live or drop new content, Travis, which basically daily, like we said. And we're just adding new stuff, trying to find ways to just bring back that week 1 feeling all season long. So make sure you're hanging with us, and appreciate all of you. Like I said, we're going to get in these listener questions here. Would appreciate all of you guys for sticking around. Travis, do you have any last things you want to mention before we go into these questions here?
No, just like, again, you want to hit on some of the strategies we had. You want to, make sure you're trying to avoid those headaches. Pick up guys that you're actually going to use and feel comfortable using. If you're on bye this week, try to project where you're going to play next week, and figure out who you can get ahead of the waiver wire on and pick up now, and block some of these, bigger teams. You see a weakness for a juggernaut that you may play next week. Go and pick up a player that they're going to need next week. And those are all just strategies that you can put forward. And then just, again, keep an eye on this COVID situation. It's escalating quickly in the NFL this week, in the last couple of weeks. So make sure you're on top of your, ability to handcuff guys, wide receivers, tight ends, running backs that you think are available to do that because of COVID. So,
and then just really, we had a couple of, or a little bit of breaking news. Someone that we did not add or did not have or write about what for the running back position. Eno Benjamin is another guy that he's only rostered on 4% of sleeper leagues. James Conner, this hasn't really been talked about, but he got banged up pretty bad at the end of last night's game. Training staff was looking at him. We don't have any confirmation as to what the severity of that injury is, but he might be doubtful for this week. And you have Chase Edmonds there. So if Chase Edmonds is available, he would also make this list as well, but he was over 50% rostered. And so Chase Edmonds would become someone very interesting. But again, he's still on IR. They did not activate him, which is why I brought up the Eno Benjamin.
And it'll be interesting, because obviously the Cardinals are heavy favorites against Detroit, so they may not even want to bring Chase back for that game.
Mm-hmm.
Let Connor rest, because obviously playoff situation, and think that they can roll out Eno and kind of rock from there. So that's something to be mindful of. But yeah, I agree with Johnny that this is kind of a late ad here, especially because I wasn't sure if he was going to need testing, but as of 16 minutes ago, they've slated him for an MRI on the ankle. So we'll see what happens.
That's not good news at all. James Conner helping people, carrying people over the last few weeks. Pat's going to be pretty upset about that too.
Yeah.
All right. We got people. What's up? Marketing invite. We got Eagle Fang saying, "What's up, Whispernation?
What's up, boys?
Just made it in the playoffs.
Yeah.
Congratulations. Congratulations. Golf clap to you." Andre Silva saying, "What's up?" Ronald saying, "What's up?" All right, here we go. We have, should I drop Alexander Madison for Rashaad Penny?
Yes.
Alexander Madison placed on COVID list. And then you've also got Cook coming back. And he doesn't look super healthy, but again, you need to win this week, and Rashaad Penny
may not be healthy, but that dude is playing and he's balling out. So you can drop Madison for a guy in Penny who you'll probably start this week. So
I like it.
If you're the Cook owner and you're not going to be starting Madison or Penny, I could say maybe you keep Madison, but that would be
that would be the only way I'd say don't do that, is if you have Cook. I would not make that move. Okay. Ronald saying, "What happened to OBJ? He got COVID."
Yeah, he got COVID. That's the only thing that seems to be able to stop OBJ lately.
Yep. So. Everyone, COVID. Everyone got COVID. There's a long list of COVID people. Saying Andre saying Rams and Browns closed the practice facility. That's why Big Travis saying, keep this mantra. This is an evolving situation. We'll see who else gets tested with the close encounter and all of that stuff. So when Ronald's saying when Swift comes back, Brown will drop down. Definitely.
Ronald, the rhymer.
Yeah, Ronald the Rhymer. But I mean, for sure. But again,
that
we
was the
don't know
caveat.
for. Well, that was the caveat 1, and 2, we still don't know for certain if Swift will be back. We've had speculation all over the board, which is why it really drives your boy crazy, because I ranted about this on Sunday morning. If you didn't watch the show, Vic Travie, I was ranting because it's like all of a sudden now we've become a big speculation community. And now all the big wigs are starting to, and I get it. Like, we speculate because that's what we need to do. Whereas, like, I don't want to get my information from, I'm trying to trust my sources, and now a lot more sources, because they're seeing what's going on in today's day and age, are like more and more so trying to speculate to get in front of stories, and it's very frustrating. So we don't know what's going to happen with Swift. He could still go on IR. That was always a potential. But there's also the potential he comes back against Arizona, which would be a very juicy matchup. So that's why I'm cool with going with Ronald.
I can see it both happening, like where it's like, oh, at the beginning of the week, Campbell says he's hopeful he gets them both back, Hawkinson and Swift, and then on Wednesday they're like, they're sending them both to the IR.
Yeah, it's just
like the Lions. It's the Lions. Anything can happen.
And I'll be honest with you, like, I do not want to see Swift, my boy, go on IR. That would be very sad for me. Obviously,
it would be.
But
it's
like
at
this point, though, just if I just hope if it's gonna happen, if this speculation was actually, just like let me know so I could drop him and get another
waiver wire coming out tonight, and then if it happens tomorrow or Thursday, you're gonna be like, really, guys, you couldn't just do it on Tuesday.
Exactly.
But it would be a very sour ending to a absolutely awesome season for fantasy football for DeAndre Swift and those who drafted him. Unfortunately, that would not be the way.
You might actually see your boy cry on live, because he has one of the best, technically he has the best playoff schedule of any running back rest of the season. So that's why you really want him back. All right. Eric saying, I think they will just throw everything to Kupp. Van's value will maybe improve a little. I mean, yeah, you might get a couple more.
You can say that. He's got double-digit points in standard over the last 3 games. He's cleared 41 yards in all those games. He has touchdowns in 3 straight. So since OBJ has come, Van's only gotten better. And without OBJ in the lineup, I don't know how you could tell me that he's not going to soak up at least 1 to 2 more targets per game. And he's also definitely going to improve.
Yeah, for sure. And then also you've got, last 2 weeks, he hasn't seen, he's getting 13 targets a game, basically averaging. He's had 13 or more targets in 3 out of the last 5, has had no less than 10. Like, I don't know how many more targets you want to give to him. But yeah, maybe 1 or 2.
They're definitely going to lean on him. I'm not saying that Kupp's value can't go up, but guys, this is an offense who, they want to throw the football heavily. Yeah. And especially if Henderson's going to miss more time, that's definitely a situation.
To a 428 got here. Hey, it's okay. You can come in late. That's fine. That's why we like saving our shows on our YouTube page. Yeah. Just, hey, if you could do us a favor, give us that thumbs up on your way in. That would be really helpful. Greatly appreciated. The Chosen Rose, thoughts on Josh Allen and Austin Eckler? Any interest on Jimmy, Big Ben, or Matt Ryan this week instead?
I'd take Jimmy G over those 2 guys. No interest in Matt Ryan. Very, very little interest in Big Ben. And Jimmy G, once again, a floor play here for our Josh Allen or Lamar Jackson owners that are concerned here. We're going to know more about Josh Allen by Friday. So just hang tight, pick up Jimmy G as a backup, and that's what I do here. Chosen Rose also asking, what about Clement on Dallas? I'm not going to buy into Clement, even if Pollard is out again. He's not good enough for me to be excited about. And I think they're just going to continue to roll Zeke out there, even if he's, on a walker or in a wheelchair. They're going to roll him out there to get
Do it 420 saying dope hat. You can find that hat. You can get one on the Fantasy Whisperers website, fantasywhisperers.com. We have a swag section.
Yeah, we're hoping to add /shop. That's how you get
link should be in the description as well. Look under the swag part in the description, and really that helps grow our channel. It helps grow the brand, and there's also some other cool stuff up in our swag shop, and more to be added soon. We're working on more swag coming your way. Ronald saying, and don't forget don't use those handcuffs going into week 17. So if the handcuff has a matchup in week 16, don't like that. Don't bother. Like example, Chuba was a handcuff that paid off, but I wouldn't play him.
Well, I mean, it's different for running back. You might have to play him, it is a terrible playoff schedule for our guy Chuba Hubbard. It's what we talked about 2 weeks ago when he was on the waiver column. But again, you may be in a position where it doesn't matter. Maybe you had Connor and you were a 0 RB guy and you had Connor and you were just hanging on to him and now he's going to be out. Like, you might not be in a position where you can do that. But again, if you're stacked at running back and you're just picking up that handcuff, again, you could just be blocking an opponent, and that's not a bad strategy either. So sometimes that's what you want. But then again, you have a point here too, because if we think about Mike Boone a few.
Oh, who? Mike Boone. Mike Boone. Oh, Big Travie froze here for a sec. Or it could have been me, I guess. Let me know, Whisper. Yeah, I think we'll get Big Travie back in here in just a second. So jumping into a couple of these other questions here. Let's see. I gotta get this. Get this overlay. There we go. Jumping in. Let's see. We've got, is Henderson going to be out? I don't know what his situation is going to be like. We'll continue to monitor. Again, he's been out the last few weeks. So yeah. So Henderson will be out, or Henderson has been out the last couple of weeks, right? And we should know a little bit more moving forward as the week progresses. So I don't want to sit here because it's so early in the week. We don't necessarily know how close he was last week to actually giving it a go. So once we monitor that, we'll know a little bit more. And then, but if I have Sony, I'm not dropping Sony because we still don't know. And I know Sony didn't have the biggest game. We were projecting him to have a bigger game last night, but I do still think Sony is someone you want to keep on your roster. They won't activate Edmonds till Saturday now. I mean, yeah, we will keep that monitored again. They were saying that he could be activated last Saturday and then didn't end up coming in, so or getting activated. So we don't know for sure. We don't know how close he is. I'll try to check my sources to see how close he was last week and keep you guys updated on that. But for sure, Edmonds would be the guy, though, that you would want to put in your lineup if Connor is in fact out and Edmonds gets activated. I have Lamar, who is hurt. Asks, should I pick up Jimmy or Ben or Justin Fields? I would go with Jimmy G if I'm trying to fill in for Lamar. I think he has the most upside and safest floor. I think that Ben, he could always, dial it back and salvage a day, but that offensive line just looks terrible. And I don't like relying on Big Ben. Even last week, it was hard for us to advise starting him, even in a good matchup, because it's Big Ben. You never can trust that arm or the offensive line fully. All right. Andre saying, I hope the Titans activate AJ Brown this week. I do think that he is eligible to come back off IR this week. So I do think he gets activated and plays, especially because they're saying that the injury wasn't as serious as, we thought and it looked, and now he's had a month off, right? Because they had a bye in between one of those weeks. So he's basically had a month off to reheal and get better. So I like that. I have him in a league as well. So I do hope that happens. I'm done with Hunt. I can't trust him in the playoffs, which will now be, I mean, we'll see how long he is out. They're now saying it might not be a long-term injury. He might be, actually be able to play. They came out and said, he could have came back in yesterday's game, although it didn't really look like it. So, definitely someone that I don't mind you saying I'm going to keep him on my bench. Now, would I drop him necessarily right now? I don't know if I necessarily drop him right now because, opponent could pick him up and end up playing him, especially in a couple of games, because you never know what could happen at that running back position in Cleveland. Taysom Hill or RW3 this week? Russell Wilson. I'm going to go to Taysom over Russell. Wait, hold on, let me just. Seattle Seahawks play. Hold on, I got to just make sure. I think No. Sorry, 1 second. I just want to make sure I'm getting the right opponent for. Yeah, I thought they played the Rams. Yeah, I wouldn't play Russell Wilson against the Rams. I'd play Taysom Hill. Yeah, appreciate it. I appreciate you, 420, hitting that thumbs up. All right, let's see. David asking, this is my lineup for the week. Dak Jones, Monty, Keenan Allen, Renfro, Pitts, Mitchell. My benches, Taysom, Higgins, and Sonny Michel. Should I make any adjustments? No, I mean, as of right now, listen, if obviously if Elijah Mitchell doesn't end up playing, then I would throw Sony in there, or T Higgins. I mean, and again, if I'm not throwing Sony in my lineup if Henderson is playing. So as of right now, I think this, early on in this week, I think this is this is a good lineup. Again, we do need to monitor Keenan Allen. Not 100% sure he goes in this game. They're saying he should be fine and cleared before Thursday night against Kansas City. But again, we don't know that for certain as of right now that he's going to make it. Pick 3, Higgins, Renfro, Chase, Devontae Parker, Osborne, or Ayuk. I might go Renfro, Chase, Parker. It is PPR. Ask Jonathan. I would go with I'm getting Renfro in my lineup. I would go Chase because you have that major upside there. And then honestly, I would probably go Osborne over Parker just because as of right now. Make sure you're tuning in a little bit later in the week, Jonathan. That way we can get all the latest information on who's in and who's out. But again, and we'll fully dissect all these sit starts, through all the matchups. So make sure you check back in with us later on this week because I might have a different answer for you depending on how some things shape up. But as of right now, I think I would go with Renfro, Chase, and yeah, it's hard not for me to get both those Bengals wide receivers in there, but I get why you wouldn't want to start both of them. But I really think that I would probably either do that or go with the KJ Osborne route. Let's see. He's saying it's not eligible week 16, 3 weeks to activate for return, 3 games to play. Right. I believe he got activated. Pretty sure. He comes back next week. He might come back next week. I'll have to look into that. I need to vet that because I thought he went 2 weeks ago was when he went, or like 2 weeks before the bye. So he had the 2 weeks, then the bye, and then maybe this week. No, it was last week. So I'll double check. Would you play Ayuk over them or no? Asked Jonathan. I wouldn't. I'm fine with Ayuk. I think Ayuk also has a good. I think Ayuk has a good schedule or a good matchup this week. So if I like to play matchups. The only thing is Ayuk's a little, like the floor is like 2 because Ayuk could be schemed out of the game is my only concern. I wish he was a lot more consistent. Like he should be like another poor man's Devontae Parker, or excuse me, the Deontay. But he isn't, unfortunately, because they don't always target him the way we'd like. But as of right now, I do think that he has a good enough matchup where if you want to roll with him, like I would trust him over Parker. I just don't know how much I trust Parker. So that's where I'm at. Okay. Yep, only week 16. Yeah, okay. And then last question here, and then we'll jump off here. Ronald asking, you guys think AB comes back at all this year? I do. I think he'll be back next week. Because if they didn't, they would have already dropped him. I think that team obviously they struggle. You see how that offensive struggles without having AB in the lineup, or when they don't have these pieces, and especially with how often those wide receivers get injuries. And I just don't think that they're going to drop him. I think that if they were going to not have him on the roster, they would have already done it. They would have already cut him. So I think. Oh, it's Davante Adams. Did I miss? Hold on. If that was Davante Adams, I'm definitely playing Davante. Oh, he said Devontae Parker, I think. Yeah, that's Andre. Oh, I'm rolling with Adams and Osborne or Ayuk this week. I see what your question is. Again, I think you're fine with Osborne in there. I think he has a decent matchup. I like Ayuk's matchup. So Ayuk on paper has a better matchup than Osborne. So I don't mind that. Again, it's just that floor is lower for me. But I would probably, when you're talking about Ayuk versus Osborne, they're kind of like, I would be fine. I would go Ayuk. I would go Adams and Ayuk over Osborne. I mean, I expect Thielen to be out. Absolutely. I don't expect Thielen, like I said, to be back at all this season. So, but I do really like the matchup for Ayuk. So that's where I'll ultimately go. All right. That does it for today's show. Sorry we lost Big Travie there at the end, but he'll be back. We will be live tomorrow, so make sure, if you haven't already, make sure you're hitting that subscribe button so you get notified right when we go live. You hit that bell. That's what you got to do. You got to make sure that bell is ready to go so you get notified right when we go live or put out new content. You can join, ask us your questions, and then we will also be going live. Make sure Thursday night with our sponsors, FanDuel. So if you guys want to join in with us, make sure you use the referral code, the Fantasy Whisperers. They'll do a 20% match up to $500. You can get in with us on the Thursday night thirst. We starting that 45 minutes before the game goes live. All right, Whisper Nation, that does it. Hope you guys have a great rest of your week. Hope you guys have a great night on waivers. Let us know who you get or who you're going for, who you're eyeing. Are you stopping? Are you blocking people? Or are you picking up waivers for this run? Let us know in the comments below. All right, Whisper Nation, until tomorrow, I'm your boy, Johnny Game Time Hicks. I'll just sign off for Big Travie as well. Big Travie will be back tomorrow. All right, Whisper Nation, take it easy. Peace.
Right here.
Congratulations on making it to the end of the video. If you still have a lot to say about fantasy football, maybe you want to give Johnny a little bit of crap for his take today, then go on over to our Discord channel and join the conversation there. Click the link in the description below. And if you still want more content, check out one of these videos.